I
That's
got quite a
awesome.
deal. So if you want me to turn you on, she's taking new clients.
And I'm clicking got it that we are live streaming.
Super. You can share it with your people now or later, whatever's comfortable.
Okay. Yeah,
And while you're doing that, I'll talk to people.
okay.
Facebook, hi, it's me, your girl, Linda Marcus Smith with Comic Spot. Yeah, I'm everywhere. Oh my gosh, you have no idea what I'm up to. So today I have the extreme pleasure of getting to interview for you at home, for you to get to know another legend. I'm sure she doesn't want to call herself that, so I'm going to say it. I look up to her. I'm only 5'2". How tall are you, Leighann Lord?
I'm 5'7".
See, I look up
A
to her
bigger
for that too.
girl.
She's out there killing it in a big way. She's showing us women a good, strong example of comedy and making it in this sometimes dark business for men and women to look up to, and those in between men and women, everybody included, not excluding nobody, lest I get canceled. I don't exclude anybody anyway. Anyway, enough for that. I would like to intro the show. That's what I'd like to do. This show is brought to you by my proud sponsor, the Veterans of Comedy. Now, you're looking at a girl that served in the military before she served up jokes. Yeah, I didn't take it that seriously, so don't get all twinky eyes on me. But anyway, the veteransofcomedy.com has a motto: leave no laugh behind. And you can go on there and look at videos of people who used to serve in the military who are serving up jokes like me. I'm in there too. You can hire me. This little selfish plug in there. Anyway, go to veteransofcomedy.com if you want to clarify anything I just said. That's fine with me. What do I care? Anyway, now for the show. Kick back, enjoy yourself. We're going to rock it. Nothing's planned. Anything could come up. I love this girl. Let me read you this really long 4-line intro she sent me. She says, short intro. Seen on HBO, Comedy Central, and Showtime, as well as in her new dry bar comedy special. Please welcome Leighann Lord. Yeah, Leighann, girl. Hi,
Hey.
welcome. Thanks for taking time. What's
Oh
going
no.
on in your neck? Where is your neck of the woods?
My neck of the woods, but I think, are you hearing an echo on sound?
No.
Hmm. Okay. Maybe it's just on my end temporarily. And
I
we'll
turned
if
off
you
my phone just in case it was me.
okay. Oh, maybe it was I was hearing an echo. Maybe that was it. Okay. That from another source. Okay. Um, my neck of the woods is New York, New York City, Queens. Yes, native New Yorker. So that's where I am.
Awesome. So, how did you fare through this incredible pandemic? You, your family, your comic friends, how'd you make it through it so far? How'd that go for you?
Well, I'm still here, so I guess there's points for that. But I will say going through it, being here in New York was really scary, because at one point we were the epicenter of the epicenter, and when sort of key entertainment industry indicators shut down, it didn't look great for comedy. When Broadway shut down, it was yeah, I part of me wants to forget that this happened, and part of me never wants to forget that this happened, because you learn very real time, the entire world at the same time, how tenuous everything is,
Yes.
and how flexible you have to be. Because you said, how did I get through it? I was curled up on my couch for a couple of weeks thinking, oh my gosh, I've just been retired. It wasn't my plan.
Yeah.
But then a fellow comic reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to do a Zoom comedy show? And all I heard was show. And so I said, yes. And then I said, what Zoom? And almost 2 years later, I'm still doing virtual shows. I did virtual shows all through the pandemic, each time sort of updating, like, okay, I need a ring light. Oh, I need a green screen. Oh, I need this. So I've sort of almost built this little studio sort of, in my house, nothing grand, nothing grand. And that's how I got through. I jumped in doing online shows, which is not comfortable for anybody. It's very hard. We were all, regardless of level of experience, thrown back to open mic level. And what better time to jump in? There was a time last year you couldn't do it wrong. So why not just do it? And so I did. I took a chance. Um, and
You
it kept
know,
me going.
let's talk about that keeping you going. So you get on Zoom. I mean, that's what made me get on and do the interviews during the pandemic, to check
Ah.
in. I was literally being Gladys Kravitz and checking in on my comedy neighbors. I'm
Well,
no
if you were Gladys, you'd be checking in without their knowledge. Oh, I love it.
And so you, at your level, you've arrived at a level of comedy where other people haven't yet.
Okay,
And
fair.
for you to humble yourself there's a lot of comedians at your level that wouldn't touch Zoom with a
Yeah,
10-foot
I know.
pole or a Russian or a Swedish person. They wouldn't touch it at all.
I know. Fear and uncertainty affects people in different ways. And I totally got the resistance. There was a time when we thought, oh, this will just be over in a couple of months. I'll just take the summer off. If that's a thing for you, I'll go do something else. And then the summer turned into fall, turned into winter. And I saw it, one, as a way of still getting jokes out of my mouth, because this is a muscle that has to be exercised. I saw it as a way of connecting with people, because many of us who at least took this seriously were isolated, in our respective places. So it was a way to connect. And then the third thing is that it was a way to build a skill. Okay, I don't know how to do this, so how do I do this? So I went from doing Zoom shows to I emceed a couple of conferences for corporations that decided they wanted to do their thing online. They didn't want to skip their annual event. Who can host it. And people work with people who are working. They see who jumps in and who tries, and none of us knew what we were doing. Nobody knew what they were doing. So what better time? We are the same group of people, regardless of where we started or where we are now, who went to open mics in that. What's scarier than an open mic in front of judging strangers or judging colleagues? That was hard too. So I'm not saying it was the same, but it was, okay, let me jump in. And I get that people are scared to do it. I get that maybe your style of comedy doesn't fit the box. For a lot of people, it doesn't fit the box. I'm a pure monologist who my key is facial expressions. The box works for me. If I was someone doing acrobatics, maybe not. So again, I don't judge anybody's choices, whether they jumped in or not, because last year was really scary. And everybody had to approach it their own way. And everybody has their line. Like my line is TikTok. Like I just can't. It's just, I applaud the people who are doing TikTok. I think these are incredibly talented, funny people, many of them not comedians. And I'm like, you know what? It's just one more thing. And right now I can't. So I
Yeah.
can Zoom. I'm not TikTok.
I put stupid things on TikTok with a hashtag humor the old bag.
Aw. No, but again, I mean, that's a thing that everybody will go, Leighann, you absolutely have to be doing TikTok. Okay, yeah, and I have to pay taxes and die. And not sure about the taxes because I'm a little behind. But yeah, we pick our thing, and I'll get there eventually. Just Zoom was enough.
Yes. I can't understand Twitch. It's too complicated.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the twitching thing either. I'm not TikToking, I'm not twitching. Now people invite me and I go on and I'm awkward and I wear my headphones. I'm like, what are we doing? What's happening? What's
Can I go back in time, like way back to little Leighann growing up and get a
Oh
picture?
gosh.
Can we get a picture of what you were like in your household and in school as a little girl growing up? probably being funny.
Um, I
Tell
think
us.
I was funny. I didn't notice because my parents were very funny. My parents were hilarious, so I grew up with a lot of, I like to say love and laughter. Yes, there was discipline and, stomping and slamming doors too. My teenage years were hard on everybody. But yeah, a lot of love, a lot of laughter. So um, I enjoyed being a kid around adults. I didn't enjoy being a kid around other kids. Other kids are terrible. Because I was I was smart, very skinny, underweight, glasses, braces, late bloomer. Yeah, yeah, just yeah, had it all. Winning. That's my Hinge profile. Oh, and puberty was slow and torturous and just ugh, yeah, horrible times, horrible times. Um, I actually was around sixth grade. I was I was picked on constantly. And I said I got tired of it, and I made the conscious decision. I'm like, maybe if I make fun of myself, maybe if I'm funny, I'll beat them to the punch, they'll leave me alone. I can still be good in school, no one will notice because I'm being dork girl. And it works. But it was just this very type A logical decision, in order to sort of get through life in grammar school, which has gotten me through life, period.
So growing up, did you have it easy? Was life handed to you on a silver platter? Did you have to work hard for what's your backstory?
Yeah, total silver spoon, heiress. Kidding. you know, um, these are all relative terms. I didn't get a pony, but I got my own room. I went to private school. I was loved. You know, I did. My parents actually, my parents were very poor, and so they worked hard so that I wasn't, and so that our childhoods really had nothing in common. I
Wow.
remember one time I wanted my dad to take me somewhere, and he didn't want to take me, and he's like, "Do you think you were born in a car?" And I'm like, "Yeah. When I got here, you guys had a car. Like, I don't know, what are you saying?" Because he didn't always grow up with what. He didn't always grow up with food in the refrigerator. I did. So I mean, so for that, yeah, I think I'm a standard, middle class American kid, where my parents worked hard for everything that they had, and consequently I had. But my job was to work hard at my job. My job was being in school, being a student, getting good grades, being good at being a kid, and as they would try to make me into being a decent adult human being. So in many ways, yes, I think I had things handed to me, things given to me, but I also had to work for them. I earned my scholarships to college. Um,
Wow. What college did you go to, Leighann?
I stayed
College.
local. I stayed local here in New York City. I'm such a New York City girl. We have a system of colleges called CUNY, the City
Yep.
University of New York, and I went to Baruch College.
No way.
Do you know Baruch?
I've lived in New York 3 different times. I'm part
Oh,
of,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so well, you'll appreciate this. We call it University on the corner of Lexington Avenue. That's UCLA, everybody. So yeah, city girl here.
What did you study?
I graduated. My degree is in journalism and creative writing, with a minor in theater arts. So that writing and performing piece was a really good foundation for me. I I didn't know I was going to do comedy when I graduated college, but those things helped me. Absolutely.
Okay, let's get into that. So
Okay.
you're in Baruch, you're at Baruch City
Mm-hmm.
University in Baruch, and you are studying journalism and something else I forgot already. And and then you go into comedy. What, you missed something in there. Tell
Okay.
us about
Okay.
that.
Okay. My initial major, and this was so a different me, a different lifetime ago. I initially was a finance major. And yeah, that didn't work out at all. And I moved over to journalism and creative writing. And I only picked that program because I really just wanted the creative writing part. I was always at heart a writer. I got that from my parents. I was always writing poems and short stories. And at the time, you couldn't get creative writing without the journalism at that school at that time. So I got away with taking like 2 journalism classes because I didn't like it. All the rest were creative writing. It's like how I managed my schedule. Like even the director of the department was like, "How did you manage that?" And like very carefully. So it was really the creative writing in the theater that I loved, and that's what I wanted to do when I graduated. But jobs in the theater for former finance majors are really kind of non-existent. And I ended up getting offered because I did an internship, a 4-year internship with an organization called Inroads. And so when I graduated, I was offered a position in the corporate communications department of a bank. So that was my writing piece. So I was still able to work corporate, but I was also writing. And it was a great opportunity. It was great. It was wonderful. I got a job in the middle of a recession as a liberal arts major when all my business major friends were working at McDonald's. So I was very fortunate, and I was also very unhappy. I knew like if I started on Monday, by Tuesday, I'm like, this is a mistake. I don't want to be in an office for the rest of my life. And I was miserable. It was the sickest time in my life. And I'm like, I want to do something else, but I didn't know what something else was.
Okay.
Long story short, it was comedy. The backstory to that is as I'm trying to search and what do I want to do with my life, this isn't it. My boyfriend at the time had got tickets to see this brand new show called Def Comedy Jam. And they were taping their first season here in New York. And we went, and I'm sitting in the balcony, and it was the first time I'd ever seen live comedy. I'd always seen comedy on TV as a kid. So this is my first time seeing stand up in person, and I'm in the balcony and I'm mesmerized. I'm like, I want to do this. Like if something ever just grabbed you and snatched your heart out and said, yeah, like, yes, and not in any way understanding what I was saying yes to. But I type A me. So there's got to be a class. There's got to be a book. So I read a book. I took a class, and then went on stage for 5 minutes, and it was the longest 5 minutes of my life, the most defining 5 minutes of my life, because the minute I stepped on stage as a stand-up, and not just doing theater, but it's just you. It was like I had found my happy place. I'd found my safe space. I had found where home was on stage for me. And I never looked back. And I continued my day job because one should, because eating's a thing. But I just kept doing stand up. And that's how those things merged.
I love that. So when you decided to do stand up, you went on stage how'd your family take it? What stage did you go on? How did it go? How
Um,
fast did you excel?
well, okay. So when I decided I wanted to do stand up, I mean, I was an adult, I had a job, but I felt like I should tell my parents because they made this investment in me. And if you have 2 parents, you pick the one who'll be the most amenable first. You separate out. So I went to my dad first, and I said, "Daddy, I've given this a lot of thought, and I want to do stand up. I want to do stand up comedy." And my dad smiled, and he turned to me and he said, "What took you so long?"
Oh my gosh, that gave me chills.
It still does to me too. It's an effort not to cry when I
Wow.
say it, because it was just so unexpected. And it's like, how did he know this thing about me that I didn't know? And it was just unabashedly supportive. And then I went to my mom, and my mom, she's a little bit more reticent, but she's like, "Listen, you did everything we asked. You went to school, you kept your nose clean, you graduated, you got a job, you don't have a husband, you don't have kids, go do, so that you don't have any regrets." So both of them really supported me. And my dad, he couldn't have been more tickled because my dad was so young at heart. He came out to me to open mics, to comedy clubs. The comics who came up with me at that time know him. He was like a comedy dad on the circuit. So yeah, I was incredibly supported early in my career, and my dad, he had the kind of heart where he really believed that the more love you give away, the more you get. He didn't have a scarcity mindset. So he wasn't just out there for me. You know, there were comics that he got to know, and they would come up and talk to him after shows. It was insane. I remember one of my friends apologized to my dad for cursing on stage, right? And my dad was like, son, I'm from Bed-Stuy. There's nothing you can say that's gonna offend me, you know. So he was just so great, so open-hearted that way. Um, but I worked really well. Everybody works hard when they do this. So my hard work doesn't exempt me or say anything I think extra special. This is what you do when you love what you're doing. But I did get help. My mentor, Rob Weinstein, one of the folks I took classes with, and his method really resonated with me. It's so type A. Rob Weinstein, he very early on, after I took several of his classes, asked me to teach for him. And I'm like, I'm just now learning this. He goes, yeah, but when you teach, you have to know, and you have to, it makes you keep growing in your craft. And so I'm glad that I did that. And I was out there hustling, you know, any stage with a microphone. They didn't even have to have a microphone. I mean, I went all the places, I did all the things that you're supposed to do, you know, early on. Um, and my mentor ended up recommending me to his college agent. And I was way too early in the business for that, in the sense that at best I had 15 minutes at best. And to do colleges, you have to have an hour because they book you to do, yeah, they book you to do full shows, an hour on your own. I didn't have that. And
Sheesh.
the agent at the time said, yeah, we know you don't have that, but we're going to use you anyway. You can open for some of our other acts. In the meantime, you should be building your set because at some point we're going to want to send you out on your own. It's like, so to already be working, but to then have a goal of, oh my gosh, I need an hour at some point, you know, if you're goal oriented and not just, oh, I just want to get funny, but oh, I got to get funny because, you know, this potential work was a little bit different. So, and that was within the first 5 years of me doing stand up.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
how did it, what was the club, the first club that gave
oh,
you?
right. Oh, the first club that I did stand up, it was a result of the end of a class, 8 weeks, you get on stage, and it was at the comic strip right here in the city. That was my
Who
first
taught
club.
the class?
What? Oh, Rob Weinstein.
That's my
Oh,
whole.
that class was DF Sweedler. That was my first teacher.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember I was
Huh?
standing in the
You
wings,
know
and
Gladys Simon?
of course I know Gladys. I used to perform.
I'm a Gladys girl.
Oh, okay, I've known Gladys before she was at the strip, when she had her own spot, when she did Cold Gladys's at Cold Waters. Yeah, I was at her open mic. So, and I've known Gladys from when I started. Gladys has been here a long time.
Yes.
Um, no, so yeah, so that she was all in the mix back then too. She was one of the mics I would go to. Yeah, yeah, it was. I've been around for a minute, but I went to the comic. I was at the comic strip, and there were only 4 people. It was a full audience, and I invited 4 people. It was my parents, and 2 friends. And I invited the one friend that would tell me I was great, even if I wasn't. And I invited the other friend who would tell me how I really did.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
just
what
no.
was the feedback?
Well, my parents love me, you know. So yeah, I had that. My friend who would, you know, support me no matter what did. And then the friend who would tell me like it is, told me like it was. And she was like, yeah, girl, you got something. Keep doing it. Yeah. And here's what's funny. I was gonna not do it. Like I was so nervous. Like the week before, I said, you know what? I'm good. I'm fine. And DF said, why don't you go to see a comedy show? Go see a live show. And I did. It is terrible. And that's the play. Your ego kicks in. It goes, I'm better than these people, which is ridiculous. But it worked. So I got there, you know, that night, and I wanted to quit again that night. You know, I was like, okay, yeah, this is lovely. I can't do it. And he goes, yeah, okay, yeah, you're on in 5. What? And I go on stage and I was nervous until I got on stage.
Oh, wow.
And it
You
was like,
had found your home, hadn't you?
I really had. And I told my first joke and people laughed. And I'm like, what? Like, because you practice. I would practice in my kitchen, in my car, and then, oh, wow, response. And then I forgot everything I wanted to say. My mind just blanked at hearing laughter. And I did. I took a second and I'm sure I babbled out something for another 4 minutes and it was over. And it was great. And I was hooked. Absolutely hooked.
Do you remember your first joke?
I don't. I'm sure there's an old set book around here somewhere because I keep really detailed notes about my jokes, but I don't remember. I think my dad might even have an old recording. I don't know. Your first 5 minutes are always horrible.
Always. What's the best that happened to you in comedy, and what's the most challenging worst that you want to share?
Yeah, that's the caveat. I've had a lot. I mean, I invested almost my entire adult career, years doing this. And I think the overall best thing is that I've always wanted to travel. And so stand up has let me do that. I mean, I've been around the world, particularly.
We have to stop right there. You're going to be on the military show in the Bob Hope spot because of your traveling around the world doing comedy for the troops. Can we please highlight this?
Absolutely. I was never in my plan. I didn't think about it. I didn't know it would be a thing for me. But then 9/11 happened. And about a year later, it was 2002, the summer of 2002, where I got a phone call asking if I would be interested in going overseas and entertaining the troops. And I said, well, I was newly married at the time. And I said, well, if I can be married, I can go to a war zone. I know how to fight. And I said yes. And at the time, understand this was like June, July 2002. It was still very early. A lot of comics were afraid to go. A lot of people said no. All I heard was travel and tell jokes. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I did mention at the time I was married at the time. I was married to a comic, and I was new to the whole marriage thing because I said yes without a hesitation. And I said, hey, honey, guess what? And he goes, you said yes to what? Going to a war zone? He was incensed. Not that I had to ask his permission, but that we didn't even talk about it. And in my mind, I'm like, it's stand up. There's nothing to talk about. And so that was one of our first big fights. I still went because he was mad. My mom was mad. And everybody's arguing back and forth. And my dad, very quietly, he said, let her go. And my husband at the time looked at him. My mom he said, you can't keep her here. If she wants to go, you have to let her go. And so I was, yes, my dad was amazing. I found out later that of course he was terrified. Of course he was scared. Like his daughter wants to go to Afghanistan? What? But yeah, he, if there's a PhD in parenting, my dad would get it, because he was encouraging and he goes, we didn't give you wings for you not to fly. Like, what are we doing here?
Oh my gosh. I love your dad.
My dad, I say he was a king masquerading as a civil servant. Very cool man. Very cool man. My mom was no slouch.
Sounds like the King of Jordan to me.
Aww. Yeah, I talk about him a lot because I'm a daddy's girl, but me and my mom were best friends. She's no slouch either. But so yeah, I went over. My first tour was long. It was 30 days. They don't do them that long anymore. At least the subsequent ones that I did after. But that first tour, let's see, Bahrain, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Saudi. We went to Saudi Arabia. Like the whole, you got to put on the abaya and sit in the back of the van. You can't see you through the windows sort of thing. Afghanistan, that was still early days. The Marines were still there. You know what that means, because the Marines go first. Last people to show up is Air Force. Air Force shows up with a martini going, "You guys good?" And I can say my dad was Air Force, so you guys know I'm telling the truth. But yeah, it was early days. We were at Kandahar Airport. There were still bullet holes in the walls, and the guys were like, "Oh, you're lucky. The porta potties are here." I'm like, "Wait, porta potties are lucky? What'd you have before?" They said barrels. What? I was a Girl Scout. I'm not sure I've ever relieved myself over a barrel. I mean, I've been under a barrel, but wait a minute, what are we doing? So it was really not cozy conditions. It wasn't Germany, you know. But what's very clear, and people should know when you go over as an entertainer, there are two things. One, the show is just part of it. It's a very small part. The other part is actually meeting and greeting and hanging out and getting to know these men and women, and going on the tours and seeing what they do, and learning about their jobs and learning about them. And at the time, this was it's not pre-internet, but communication wasn't as easy and as free back then, so there really was a distance from folks who had chosen to serve and their families. So us going over there at the time was really sort of this connection that we hadn't forgotten them. We served as family a little bit. And the other thing to realize is that wherever you go, I don't believe any entertainer has ever been harmed or hurt on one of these. They really try to protect you, and they give you the best that they have. So if you're in a tent with a cot and it's uncomfortable, they probably have something worse. So I always felt protected. I always felt taken care of. And I always felt like, whether or not I agreed with the reason for a military action, that wasn't the important part. The important part was, wow, these are people who are putting themselves on the line, and I get to maybe take their mind off it for a few minutes. How awesome is that? Like, I literally had somebody reach out to me on my Facebook fan page and say, "Thank you for making me laugh when I was deployed." What? like these folks don't forget that you came for them. And so I did 3 more tours that I can remember. I think I'm counting them right, because we cram in a lot. There's a lot of countries, a lot of flying, a lot of B-52s. I got to perform on an aircraft carrier, which is now out of commission, the USS JFK. And they flew us in on the airplane where you land on just amazing, life-altering stuff. And this is not everybody's everyday job. So being able to travel the world the way I wanted, because I also went to the South Pacific, did Europe, Germany, and then to traveling, having these experiences.
I was stationed in Germany. Where did you perform in Germany?
I want to say Wiesbaden.
Yep.
I want to say that I remember, now serving in a non-war zone, very different. Like, the forward operating base in Germany is at a bar. I mean, come on, you're not in you're in danger of having a hangover. Okay, it's a very different experience. But it was a blast, because I don't remember my hand being empty. Like, I would just stand there and somebody put a glass of wine in my hands. I ate more Wiener Schnitzel than I should, and I absolutely fell in love with Germany.
Excuse me a second. I had to turn down the volume. Somebody's commenting on here.
Please.
Pernell Holloway, comedian Pernell Holloway, is saying, "Hello, Queens. I'm in Queens, New York," he says.
Oh, hey, Queens. Oh, my goodness. Put your mask on. We're back to that now.
He's in a war zone.
Yeah. The whole, all of Earth, whether you recognize it or not, this is not a safe space for humans because of other humans.
That's right. So back to Germany. What were you saying? Sorry.
Oh, no, not at all. No, just I really loved it there. I had a great time. I like German people. I like German culture, believe it or not. I mean, I really had a blast. But again, on our more established bases, you were also very well treated. Went Pearl Harbor. I wasn't there long enough. It was like a day in between. We had a show and then we were gone the next day. But it provided some really interesting life experiences, you know.
Tell me about a conversation or two you had with some soldiers, male, female, officers enlisted, that you'll never forget.
Well, my first overall impression was finally understanding how young 18 is. You can join when you're 18. That's considered an adult. And we all think when we turn 18, we're adults. We all thought we were adults at 16, quite frankly. But then you go to one of these bases and you're looking at babies in fatigues. And I don't say that disparagingly. These are men and women, but gosh, they look so young. Like a couple of them, well, most of them, I wanted to go, does your mom know you're here? Like I wanted to put them in my suitcase and take them home. Like, you don't belong here, you know? Um, but it was a choice they made. I hope they understood it. I don't know if anybody understands their choices.
You don't.
From something as simple as buying a car, as hard as going to war. Like, do we really know what we're doing? My dad used to say if he waited till he was secure enough to have kids, he'd have them in his 70s. We make scary choices. But I think one of the conversations that I had was, and this is again at the time, and I'm reiterating, how when we come over, not just to entertain, but to sit and talk, they feel not forgotten. They feel some kind of connection. Now, maybe things are different now, because internet's so much easier. But I remember being on bases where email was monitored and you had to sign up to get on, and use the internet. And there were certain places you couldn't go and things you couldn't say. You couldn't tell people some bases where you were, and it's like, yeah, I'm not trying to bring down democracy. Okay.
Yes.
you know.
Like you want to do things for the troops, but by talking to them on the internet, they could be giving away their coordinates.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and being vetted, like what, like having to be ready to go overseas is like, wow. It was a whole different experience being a civilian, going, and then knowing that I would get to go home, at the end of my tour, my very short tour, compared to what they're doing. And you also you seeing what the conditions that they live in, when it's not someplace like Germany or Hawaii, you really sort of adjust what your idea of comfort is. Because I'm not a roughing it kind of girl. I am not. No, I like it easy. I really do. But so a lot of people were surprised that I did a military tour, and like more than one. And I'm like, you adjust. You realize how fortunate you are. Bathrooms with no doors, showers with no walls. Why you got to shower at a particular time of day because in the middle of the day it gets way too hot to shower. That's even if they have hot water. It's you take a lot less for granted, and you realize whoever made 2-ply toilet paper is amazing.
Wow. You know what I'd like to know about? Well, also, and I don't mean this any other way than in a grandiose way. Thank you for serving up jokes to the military from the bottom of my pea-picking heart. Oh my goodness sakes. That's my favorite subject in the entire world, comedy for the military and the veterans. And you are so special to me and to so many military because you've done that. They'll never forget you. Never, ever. Those that saw you will always be
I
your fans.
I still have folks on my Facebook, Facebook friends, who, there's a particular gentleman, he was part of our security detail when we were over there. And we had civilian detail. Well, they looked civilian, they had on civilian clothes, but they had weapons and we were guarded. And that's what you don't understand. We are so protected when we go. It's like, you an escort to the porta potty? Sure. Okay. You know, yeah, these are good folks. These are good people.
So now you've been on HBO and you're a dry bar special. You've got fame going for you. You're well recognized. Well, I
Nobody
say
knows me at my Starbucks. Nobody knows me.
that's good. That's the way you want it, you know. Take somebody else's cup of coffee. Surprise. But yeah, so how do you handle a right? First of all, you probably get a lot of people that come up to you and say, I want to do a USO tour. How do I do it? Can you recommend me? How do I do it? What do you tell them? And how do you handle the fame how do you stay well adjusted to the fame that you've garnered? So
Okay,
two parts.
two separate questions. I did, yeah, USO is the USO. I worked with AFE, Armed Forces Entertainment. People don't realize, I mean, there are multiple organizations, but those are the two big ones. And I didn't organize the tours, I didn't plan them. I was lucky enough to be invited and said yes. Particularly early on, you know, when so many people were saying no. And so that's how I got involved. I'm sure Armed Forces Entertainment is open to people to approach them, because there's always a want, there's always a need. There's an M&W, morale and welfare office almost on every base, where, I mean, it's a thing to keep up the spirits, so to speak, and to bring in entertainers. So uh there's definitely a need for that. I don't know how long their list is, because I haven't done a tour in a little while now. But yeah, I think if it's something that someone wants to do, they should do it. It's because it was an amazing experience. Several of them actually. Um, Now, what is this fame of which you speak? I'm not sure I understand, because I'm not famous.
Well, so other comedians know you and know
Okay.
that you've arrived a certain level of fame to be on a show that Carol Montgomery is producing with the likes of Wendy Liebman and Terry Hatcher. I mean, you're on a huge visible scenario, and
Yeah.
that isn't your first rodeo being highly visible with a top-notch comics, and you come highly recommended by people I know, love, and trust, like Steve Marshall. He's not easy to please.
Yes.
He thinks the world of you.
Aw.
So you have a great reputation. You're at a high level among the comedy community.
Yeah.
And you're doing it and in such a great way by staying above board. You have a great reputation and you've achieved a lot. HBO, Dry Bar, whatever else you said, I can't remember. A couple other things I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
You're just so how do you accomplish all of that? You know, I'm moving from open mics, guest spots, and opening, like doing 5 to 15. So I look up to you. You're like a legend to me. Maybe not to everybody maybe there's people out there that don't know you, but us
Oh, there are
comics
plenty.
know you.
Um, I guess I forget that. Sometimes I just said, how did I do all of that? It was definitely not all at once. I, I I keep saying I'm a type A person. I'm type A in recovery, you know, because that lifestyle isn't healthy, but I'm a hard worker. And what that means sometimes is that I'm always nose to the grindstone, you know, and I'll achieve something. Okay, that's great. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And then you wake up and you've been doing this a decade. And like, how did that happen? You know, so I forget sometimes to read my resume, because in my mind, I'm still the young, hungry comic, you know, who's got to work hard, because this industry makes you feel that way. Because it's always, this industry is not an easy industry. It's very hard. So you're only as good as the last thing you did, which is not a healthy way for you as the artist to look at it. But sometimes I get trapped in that. So I forget how long I've been doing it. Sometimes I forget how people see me, and that to be a working comic, as well as, I mean, I've paired other things with this. I've been an author, I've been a corporate trainer. Your skills as a stand-up and as a performer lend themselves to so many things that, will keep you afloat. So there are a lot of dashes in my resume, but stand-up is the thing that I chose and I love, and I would want to do that in writing more than anything else. But I forget that being able to do that all of these years is no small shakes,
So
so to speak.
I want to talk to you about the bonding that you do.
Bonding.
So I know that's a weird thing to bring up, but as we transition through an interview, something will come to my mind that
Okay.
I need to dig into. And what I noticed from the time that I was on a Zoom thing with you to now is that you bond. And to say that you're likable is a gross understatement, and to me, it's a slap in the face. I mean, it's great to be likable, but that's such a minuscule thing about you. Yes, you're likable, but you have this bond you create non-verbally with your eye. You say you're a monologist, and it's in the eyes, and you you when you're talking to me, I couldn't wait to have you on to have this one-on-one thing, because you're so real, you're so in the moment, you really care, you're really there with me, you're bonding, you're checking to see if I'm paying attention, if I'm listening, you're getting feedback, nonverbal, you're doing all. And I just adore the fact that you're so in the moment. How did it happen that Leighann Lord can go through an entire life, get knocked around in the comedy business as a corporate trainer, whatever it is, and be in the moment with me? How I know how I got to where I'm in the moment every moment. You are too. How did you do that?
When you figure out that right now is all we have. I don't know. I mean, I maybe the foundation of it, I offhandedly mentioned my minor was in theater arts. I would have made it my major if I could have. I love acting. I loved being on stage. I loved doing theater. And I have done those things in life. I did theater, I did martial arts, I've done comedy. All of those things require that you be present, because if you're not, it doesn't work. And then that becomes a transferable skill, that if you're present for all these other things, then you can be present for almost everything. I also meditate every day. That's how I'm trying to get through the hard things, which doesn't mean the hard things don't happen. There's a certain zen, a certain, peace, a certain maturity that comes after a certain age. And that age could be chronological, or that age could be stuff happens to you in life early and you get hit with real life really fast. Um, but I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. I mean, when I get on stage, I feel like I'm creating this. This is our time. This is just us, you guys. Like, this is me and this guy, and like we're in on it. We're together. Like, we're building something together. That's a relationship. Like, I'll share a quick story if I can. I was in the
Yes,
city.
you're like teaching me right now. That was so impactful.
I'm glad. But I was in Columbus Circle, and you know how you see somebody that you think you recognize each other, but you're not sure if you know each other. And so it was me and this woman, and we're trying to figure out how we know each other. And we're going through schools and organizations and friends, but we're having a great conversation. And then she goes, "I know where I know you from." She goes, "You're a comedian." And I said, "Yes." She goes, "I saw you at Broadway Comedy Club." And this was like a few weeks prior. And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I was in the audience." And she goes, "You were so nice. You made it seem like we were friends."
She
So
got
in,
it.
so in my head, I'm like, so I'm talking to a stranger. But this woman, so I did something on stage that made this woman in a room full of 100 people think we were friends, or that we would be friends. And I think a lot of comics, I shouldn't say a lot, some comics approach comedy in a very adversarial way. It's a style, it's a personality trait. I am not that. I do comedy, not combat. I want you to come away feeling a, a little for better for as long as you can, because it comedy only takes away the burden for a little while, and sometimes that little while is all you need to catch your breath. So I feel that's what I'm doing.
I love that. It gives me body chills to hear you talk about it.
Oh
You
wow.
know, it's impactful. Have you ever thought about training people in the Leighann Lord style of comedy or?
Yes and no, because I have taught, several times over the years, because I love comedy. I love everything about this. I love talking about it. I love the craft. I love the writing. I love the presentation. I love getting into the nooks and crannies of it, like how you work an open mic, like what is the point of that, and how do you build your set, and how do you discover who you are on stage. I love every single bit of that. Hate the business. Absolutely hate the business. The industry is horrible and not fair, but can also talk ad nauseum about how to survive it and how to manage it. So I like sharing those things. Actual teaching, it can be a little frustrating, for a couple of reasons. One, the first thing people want to know is how do they get famous and get paid. I haven't written one joke. you
Exactly.
haven't you haven't done one open mic. Yeah, but you want to know. So how many classes do I take before I get famous and get my HBO special? Like, well, let me calculate that and get back to you. People are always, and this is not everybody, but a large percentage of people are surprised at how much work, real work, this actually takes, both on the creative side and the business side. It's one of those things that, in my opinion, is not for the faint of heart. I am not here for the faint of heart. I'm here for people who really want to do this. So I'll answer questions. I have people who DM me and say, "Will you watch my tape?" Sure. And what do I need to do? I'm like, "What's your plan? What are you doing? What are you?" And I derive pleasure from that, from those casual interactions. People have been asking me to teach, and I probably should, just because I think I have something to offer. There are tons of teachers out there, and the best teacher is really just the one that resonates with you. And the way I do things may not resonate, because I am very much I'm a stickler for the work. If you're not going to do the work, I can't help you. Are you writing? Are you performing? Are you recording your sets? Are you listening for what worked and for what didn't? Are you making those adjustments? I'm not impressed that you go on and do 12 sets a week. I'd be more impressed if you did 3, but you figured out where you have to grow from each one. If you're not doing that with the 12, what are you doing? You're hanging out, in my opinion. How are you charting and capitalizing on your growth uh, as a comic? So I take this, it's not funny at all, but I take this incredibly seriously, which that approach may not be that may be off-putting for some folks.
Yeah. I taught comedy at Harvey's Comedy Club in Portland, Oregon. First thing that the kids would come and ask is, when do I get a special? Like, it's gonna, oh, I know you're young. Let me go get that for you. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 2.5 years. Easy breezy. Because there weren't 1,000 people at your club who started 6 months before you. I mean, there's a glut of comics. There's a lot of some very good competition out there. And you can't tell somebody this, they have to experience it for themselves, but talent is not enough. And that's hard. That's real harsh. To think just because you're funny, you may not, quote unquote, make it, or you may not survive. The resilience and the persistence that are required in this are epic. I used to say I quit every Tuesday. This is so hard. It's so hard. It's unthankful. They move the goalposts. Is a lot of times you got to be lucky. It's who you know. It's yeah. It's not easy going. When you start to meet people who have Emmys and can't pay their mortgage, it puts things in perspective. Like, holy crap. For every one of us who's super famous, there are thousands who are equally talented or as funny, who, for whatever reason, because life happens, I've met over the years a lot of people who have come and gone in stand up who were outrageously funny. Like if life were fair, they would have a special mini TV shows, and they don't. These are people who you'll never know. Um, so I've gotten to the point where I'm not being elitist, but if you haven't been doing this 10 years, I may not remember your name. And I say that jokingly, but not, because so many people have come and gone with the best of intentions. They'll put in that 5 years, and that 5 year mark is like golden, because that's when you can still walk away. I think, after 5 years, you fall prey to sunk cost fallacy. Like, I've gone this far, I've got to keep going. Like, I'm ruined. I'm completely ruined. I can't go back to an office, although none of us are at this point. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna die with stand-up comedy being at the top of my life resume, because what am I gonna do now? That and writing, those are my keys. And cat mom. I can put cat mom on my resume now. But yeah, as you can see, I will rant about stand-up ad nauseum.
I love it. We're getting near the end of the hour that we wanted to do, and I would like to know, what is it that your comedy isn't an issue for you? You're making it. You're making it happen. You're making it. You're leading the way for a lot of us gals. So, what is it that you're passionate for or against, without politics or religion, just in life? What is it? Who is Leighann Lord, aside from the fact that you were a corporate trainer in, like I was, or what? And I was in finance and banking. What is it? Who is Leighann Lord aside from all that you are in comedy?
It's funny you asked that question, because for the last, I want to say 5-6 years, Leighann became a caretaker, against Leann's wishes. My wonderful parents, I would go out on tour or go do shows, and I come back, and because we have a two-family house, and they would be fine. They'd seem fine when I came home. They wanted me to think they were fine, and they were getting older, and they were getting sicker, and it was finally something I couldn't ignore. Because as a kid, you want to see your parents or people you love as how you think of them, as how you remember them. So there were some little clues that I started picking up on, like, hey, wait a minute, that's not. So the more I started paying attention, the more I see that they needed, and I was really the only person who could help. And so little by little, I started taking care of them and getting them to their appointments, and then taking care of the house. And next thing you know, I'm a senior manager. That's what I called my position. If we're going to put it on a LinkedIn resume, I was senior manager of the house. And my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and we got on the life roller coaster, and it was a lot. I was still trying to travel, just not as far and for not as long, because I was too young to retire, because I realized I could have given up everything in my life, and it still wouldn't have been enough, for that stage of their lives. But they also would not have wanted me to do that. So I did the best I could. But that was my life, the last 5-6 years. And so my dad passed in 2019. The pandemic happens. I still have my mom, and then my mom passed this April this year. And I don't know why I thought, okay, I could just pick up my life where I left off, but I didn't leave my life off. I was living my life. It was just different. But I really had to take some time to answer that question, to get to what that's not an easy question after a certain time. Who am I? And what do I want? I came to the end of this part and I didn't know,
Mhm.
and I
Right.
literally, I took the summer off, so to speak. I was still working, I was still doing stand up. What I wasn't doing was trying to process all their stuff. I wasn't trying to break down the house. I wasn't trying to repair the house, because that sort of loomed large as the next thing to do, because I hadn't done any of that while I was just trying to keep them safe. I missed all the major house stuff. And now I'm a homeowner by myself without them. I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And I was about to leap into this big, huge project. And my body kind of said no. Like, as some health issues cropped up. And I think that was my body's way of saying, slow down, take care of you. And that's exactly what I did. I feel like I took the summer off to figure out who I was. I said, I just want to live and fall in love. And I assumed that that would be with me. Not that I would meet someone, which I did.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. But it's not even about that. It's about, who am I now and what do I want? And I know what's really important to me now is equanimity. My peace of mind. And saying yes to the things I really only want to say yes to, and no to the things I don't. And no is okay. You don't have to do everything for everybody, every time, everywhere. It's not possible. We only have a limited amount of time, and we don't know how much that is, and a limited amount of time and energy. Uh, and I want to get to choose where I spend that in the way that I want to spend it. And I think the beautiful part about that is that I cannot be about my own equanimity, my own peace of mind, and not also be about yours. If I value mine, I absolutely have to value yours. And by yours, I mean you and everybody else I come in contact with. So that means that I might come in contact with people who are really not having their best day, you know, like getting cut off in traffic, in my mind. Okay, yeah, I could take that personally, or I could think, wow, maybe they have to go to the bathroom. Right? We all know that feeling. We're cutting off, tractor trailers when you got to go. So I've had to learn. And again, this part of this was being a caregiver. I had to learn how to reframe things. How it's not all about me. It's not all personal. And how do I want to spend my days and live my time and have people know me, um, and live with integrity is, and is as many good choices as I can with the time that I don't know how much of it I have.
You threw out a
So,
big word that's really important to me, integrity.
ah,
You don't always see that in life. You don't see it much in comedy. So, what made you say that word?
it's in this industry, we don't have a human resources department. There's nobody to go to when you've been wronged, particularly as a woman, which is one of the things that makes this business very hard, you know. And so you can conduct yourself, you can't control other people, how you conduct yourself, your reputation. As you mentioned, how people think of me, I would like to think that I have, been above board and professional uh, in my career. And many people, unfortunately, in this industry, when given the opportunity to not operate with integrity, they do. All you can do is figure out who these people are when they show themselves to you, and they will. You simply can choose. Well, no, it's not simple. You can choose not to work with them. Okay, they like to not pay you on time, or they like to not pay you, or they want to short you on money, or they want to double book you. You live, you learn, you sort of make a mental note, like, oh, okay, you know. But what that happens on the other side is that you also accrue all these good people that you do want to work with. And that's how some opportunities can come to you. People know, they know you for your integrity, for your character, for your work, and they go, oh, let's get Leighann, because Leighann will show up, Leighann will be on time, and Leighann will do the job. How do they know that? Because I've conducted myself with integrity. How do I choose who I work with? Oh, Karen Montgomery, you mentioned her, who we are friends. Most of my tours I've done with her, not my first one, but all the others. I've literally been around the world with this woman, been to war zones with this woman. We are, not just comedy friends, we're friends. Love her to death. And our relationship is of such, she will call me and ask me to do a gig. All I ask is the day and the time. I don't even ask if we're being paid. Like, we went in the car, drove to someplace for hours, did a gig, and she's like, okay, yeah, let me get you money. I'm getting paid. One of the few people in the world that I will do that for, because again, woman of integrity, has never invited me to do something shady, has always looked out for me as a person and as a friend. And I think those are things, relationships that you build over time. It's not instant. Our society right now is just so instant. You could be friends on Facebook. It doesn't mean you're friends. True friendship, and even a business friendship, when you're colleagues, that trust is built over time. And it's gonna take more than just a like on a post to build that. So yeah, I guess that's where that comes from. I have the foolish hope that if I conduct myself well, people will deal well with me. That is not how that math always works. But then the real question is, does that change how you operate in the world? No, it does not give me permission to act less than what I know is right. I wish it did. It doesn't. To me.
The last question I have for you, other than where people can follow you and where you're going to be performing, the last question I have for you is, let's say your life ends all of a sudden shortly without, all of a sudden, terrible topic, terrible way to end.
No. I'm on this side of adulthood. I get that question every day. Yeah. Okay. But
I'm 70 years old, so consider the source. So, how do you want to be remembered? I know how I want to be remembered, but who cares about that? This is about you. How do you, Leighann Lord, want to be remembered?
That's a lot. Well, first I want people to be absolutely brokenhearted. I want people to just clutch their heart and just have to sit down for a minute and go, oh no, not Leighann. Like, most people want people to be happy at their funeral. No, I want out and out wailing and weeping. That is what I desire. But I want to be remembered as a good person, somebody who's funny, talented, and who, against the odds, had the type of life that she mostly wanted. Mostly. Because we don't all get everything, I don't think. But I've been able to live a life outside of the confines of what's considered normal. Like my normal day isn't someone else's. And to have the courage to find what I love, because it takes the courage to figure that out, and then even more courage to do it. I meet a lot of closet comics, a lot of people that'll tell me, oh, they're funny with their friends, or they're funny at work, or they're funny with family. And like, unless you're a sociopath, most people are. But then to have the courage to go, okay, I'm going to do this for a living. So maybe I'll be remembered for being funny and brave, like
I
Lucille
love that.
Ball. Yeah.
Would you please tell people who are going to be seeing this, because I'm going to be sharing it to military orgs and veteran-owned companies. Please tell the people out there, and especially our troops, those veterans and military, tell everybody where they can find you, follow you, besides down the sidewalk in Queens.
Oh, okay. So at top, the easiest way to find me is my website, which is veryfunnylady.com. And, that's the portal to all things me. Like, you find me on my social media. But I am on Instagram, Leighann Lord, Very Funny Lady, Twitter, Leighann Lord, Very Funny Lady. Facebook, YouTube. I'm on Pinterest for no reason whatsoever. I don't even know why I'm there. You can find me on TikTok. I'm not posting anything, but people post things of me there, which is weird and interesting. But yeah, because I started in comedy clubs where even if people liked me, they were drunk by the end of the night, and it was hard to spell my name, but they could remember a very funny lady. And so, yeah, that is the again the original and best portal to find all things me.
Wonderful. And so where, Leighann Lord, do you want everybody to know you'll be performing coming up? Your specials, your merch?
Wow, all that's on my site as well. I do keep my calendar up to date. On a serious note, I'm actually going to be on a panel on December 11th. It's a panel about Alzheimer's and dementia, and I got asked to do that, to be one of the people on the panel talking about that again, because my mom was diagnosed, and I had done a podcast. I started a podcast called People with Parents that talks about the role reversal between adult children and aging parents and what that's like. And so I was invited to be on that panel talking about how it affects the community and strategies and, that point of view from a caretaker, from a caregiver. That's very interesting. It's going to cost me quite a great deal emotionally to do it, but I think it's valuable because we don't talk about these hard things enough. We talk about very foolish things in the news, things that don't matter. What a celebrity is wearing. Maybe your fan base cares, but what about these real life issues that we are wrestling with? So I'm happy to be on that panel. But I'm still performing live shows, and virtual. And that's all on my site, veryfunnylady.com/calendar, I believe is how you get to that.
I wanted to tell you, when you were talking about the panel for Alzheimer's and dementia, that due to my brain trauma, I got diagnosed with mild dementia due to brain trauma, which is why I never wanted to go on stage. And so my daughter took care of me, and it was too much for her. And so we're not speaking.
Yeah.
And I'm doing comedy. And I get what you're doing, and I get what you've done with your parents, and I applaud you for sticking with them through the end.
It's hard. Very hard. But I caught the hot potato, so to speak. And I couldn't not, I'm not saying I was always joyful about this task. I was not. There was some really rough days. But there was a community out there of people that I discovered who are also going through this, and people who reminded me that this is a season. It's not the rest of your life. And that's your big fear. It's like, is this gonna be what it always is? But I guess it's like raising kids. You think it's always gonna be raising kids, and it's not.
I had no idea you were a caregiver for your parents.
Oh yeah.
And for that reason, and you're a hero for having done comedy for my military and my veterans. I act like I own them.
You do. That was very proprietary, madam.
I'm a queen. Just kidding. But yeah, you're a hero to me on the comedy front, out there killing it, rising as a strong female for us to look up to, and doing it with integrity and being in the moment. For so many reasons, I adore you. I want you to know that.
Thank you. And if I could just throw in one more thing, because it just aired on Showtime last week. Even more funny women of a certain age. It's now streaming on Showtime. And if you're saying, Leighann, I don't have Showtime, I didn't either. But they do have a 30-day free trial, and that's how I was able to see myself do a show. But it's yeah, I've worked with some really, really talented women. I worked with my idol, Marsha Warfield, is on the show. I was like so excited to work with her. I remember turning on the TV when I was a kid, and she was one of the first Black female stand-ups I'd ever seen on TV. I was riveted. And then to grow up and work with this woman and become friends with her, I was like, what is happening? So if you want some absolutely, funny comedy, not just for me, but for some very talented women, streaming now on Showtime, even more funny women of a certain age. And again, 30-day free trial. You can make that commitment.
I love it. I will watch it this week. You've got my word, and I'll share it with my
Thank you.
fans and friends. Anything else? I don't want to cut you off from anything else you want to say that you're about and doing that where they can follow you.
No, I tell you guys where to find me. You let me blather on about comedy, which I'm passionate about, and share a little bit of my life. Um, thank
I have a
you.
new favorite interview. This is it, folks. This is
Aw,
awesome. Thank you
that's
so
very
much,
sweet.
Leighann Lord.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, I'll see you later. I love you from the bottom of my heart.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.